And recording in progress, interesting. And so today I am working in a consulting firm, so which is called Layton. So in a private company. So my aim today is to explain how did this transition occurred from academic research to working as a consultant in a private company. So yeah, thank you. So my background in short is shown on this slide. So PhD in polymer science for 3 years, and then volunteering, but also known as unemployment during 8 months. And then I got hired at Layton, and I'm still working there, as I just said. So the idea is to understand what happened during this 8-month time to convert from freshly graduated PhD to a research and development consultant. So to start with, just a few words about my background. Before that, I did my studies 100% at the university. So I got a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry at the Université de Montpellier, and then a Master of Science at the Université Glob'Alps. So I don't have any engineering fancy degree. So 100% at the university. And during this time, my dream job at the time was to become a science journalist. And so to achieve this goal, I decided to do my first years of master internship in a journal, in a science journal. And so during this internship, it was a really cool internship. So it was at Lecture Chimique, which is a journal edited by the French Chemical Society. Sorry. And during this internship, I asked all the people working there, okay, what can I do after my Master of Science to become a science journalist? Because that's what I want to do with my life. And I was told this. They told me, okay, you want to be a respected science journalist, then get a PhD, and then you'll see. So they told me that the best way to become a science journalist was to get a PhD in whatever, in science. And after a PhD, everything was possible. So I followed that advice. And so that's why I started my PhD in the first place. Because I thought, okay, I'll just do this to try and to see what it's like to do science for real, what it's like to be a researcher, to be a scientist, and then I'll do whatever I want to do. So I started this PhD at a very cool lab called CERNAV, if you heard about it. It's specialized in biomacromolecules. But I was working on a very fundamental topic with no, how to put this, with absolutely no link in any companies. So it was very fundamental, very academic research. So and plus, it was a hard topic. Actually, I really enjoyed these 3 years of PhD, but it was in terms of science, I realized that I was not so good at doing science. So I got a really few interesting results. So I was striving to get to do my experiments to get some interesting results, but I was not successful at doing this. But it didn't matter because I was in a very cool lab with cool people, with a nice advisor. And so it was just, okay, I don't have interesting results, but it's fine. I'm just enjoying the time in the lab. And since I wasn't that much involved in this science journey that is PhD, I decided to get involved in PhD student associations. So at the time it was Glob'Alps 38, but now it's called Glob'Alps. So I was part of the team who chose that new name. And that's when things became really interesting during the PhD, because Through this association, we organized many events like afterworks, well, student gathering, many different things. But among all this, we were part of the organization committee of the Forum Biotechno. And I think you might have heard of it since it took place a few days ago, I think. And to be part of the organization of this forum was the key point to my career, I guess, to what happened after my PhD. Sami, could you please show the rest? Okay, just the previous.
I mean this one. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So just to say that in my background, there's the strictly professional experience, which is CERMAV and now Leighton. But my point is, it's important to value what you do outside of your job, outside of the lab, if you're a PhD student, but whatever your position is, you actually learn many things outside of your strictly professional experience. So you have to be aware of that and to know how to value this. So while doing my PhD, I was getting involved in this Glob'Alps association, and I'm happy to see that it's still alive today and it's still organizing nice events together, people together. And what was I saying? So we were part of this Forum Biotechno, and that's how I discovered Leighton. And that's how I got hired afterwards. So during my PhD, I was part of this Forum Biotechno, and after my PhD defense, I kept on working for this association on another year. So this was part of my 8 months unemployment time, and during this period from January to August 2017. So I was working for Forum Biotechno, but also I decided to get involved in other science associations. So Pint of Science, if you've heard about this one is very cool. It's an association that organizes science-related events, but for everybody in bars. So you go to the bar, have your beer, and listen to a scientist talk about his research. One of the other things I did during this time of unemployment was to launch personal projects. So I dedicated some time to a musical project that was, well, I was a musician in a band, and we're doing some concerts. So I took this time to organize a tour. So just to say that all of these extra professional experiences were actually as interesting from a skill point of view as the PhD. And it's all of this experience that led me to work where I am working today at Leighton. Because today I work as a research and development innovation consultant. So how should I describe this position in short? The main goal of my job today is to help French companies in funding their research projects. So if it's not clear for you, just ask any question, whatever comes to your mind. But to put it short, it's helping companies in funding their research and development projects. And actually it's not exactly being a science journalist, but it's really pretty much the same in terms of what I'm doing every day, because what I'm doing every day is to interview some technical directors in companies, well, whatever companies, from small startups with 3 people working there to international groups. And every day, it means that I'm leading technical discussions with these clients to investigate and to identify qualifying research and development projects. So it's really similar to what I was targeting as a science journalist. I didn't check the time. I hope I'm not talking too much, but let's maybe we can move to the next slide.
Yes. Okay.
What I wanted to say here is that when you're doing your PhD, sometimes you're just so focused on getting your result, getting the work done, because it's a huge thing to do a PhD, to write your thesis and etc. But just don't forget that PhD is just a step, a short step in the whole career. And well, once it's done, I mean, you have plenty of things that you can do afterwards. And to ensure your transition from academic research to a private company, my main, what I pointed out is that you have to be aware of all your skills, not only your technical lab skills, not only the papers that you managed to write. So just to say it, I didn't write any paper during my thesis, and it's okay, it's fine by me. So take some time to think about what skills you developed during your PhD, because it does not stop just to technical lab skills. You can develop written and oral communication skills in doing literature review, skills in teaching, coaching, and a very important skill is your resistance to failure. That's definitely one of the most important thing that I learned during a PhD, because I was just going from lousy experiments to another lousy experiments. So this was during the PhD. And secondly, don't forget to value all the skills that you gain from all your other activities apart from your lab experiences. All that you do out of the lab, out of your job, volunteering, or I don't know, if you have personal projects, you can value it also, because it's most of the time it's through these moments that you really experience teamwork, project management, community management, or whatever things you can learn. But you can learn a lot of things doing activities out of the lab. And finally, this can lead you to anywhere, actually. So where I am today at Layton, I learned some new things about research and development funding, business strategy, accounting, some stuff that I didn't have a clue before getting there. But the message is, my message is, it's all about your skills. Be aware of the skills that you have and that you can value. And this is very important to be conscious of that, especially when you're in a job interview. So this brings me to the third and last slide. So 3 keys to prepare your next step. Well, according to me, don't forget that a successful thesis is a finished thesis. It doesn't matter how many papers you have, well, unless you want to be a famous researcher and you want to continue in an academic career. Just finish it. That's all. So hanging there is worth it. Second point, very important: build yourself a network, because first of all, it's really important to survive to these years of PhD, and secondly, it's very important, as you know, to find a job afterwards. Here you have some nice events you can attend to. Forum de Techno, I mentioned it already, but another one is PhD Talent. If you are able to come to Paris, I think it takes place in October. Really cool event, especially dedicated to PhD. Actually, you have to go there if you're looking for a job after your PhD. And there are some PhD specialized recruiters I mentioned here, Science Me Up, Adult Talent Management, PhD Talent, OKDoc. They are run by PhD actually, so they are really, really aware of this particular status that we have as PhDs on the labor market. And third point is, okay, I said it already, but really important, value your soft skills and out of the lab experience, because you're much more than your job. Let people know it. And to give you an example, I know that in my company, sometimes it can make a difference between whether you're going to get the job or not. Just to mention, oh, I'm passionate about rugby or whatever. Sometimes it can really make the difference to say this. So I think that's pretty much it. So thank you for listening to me. And if you have any question, I'm still here for 10 minutes and then I'll have to leave. Sami, I think your mic is down.
C'est bon, it's working?
Ouais, c'est bon.
Okay.
It's working.
Thank you, Harisoa, for to share your experiences and your tips. And so if everybody wants to ask a question, you can ask directly in the comment or in the chat, or you can take open your micro to ask the question directly. So feel free to ask question to Harisoa. Thank you again.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you apply to lots of jobs before getting this one?
Nope. It was my only application and I got hired within a week. It was my only application because because I actually during my 8-month unemployment period, I wasn't looking for a job at all. I was just enjoying the moment. But at the end, I realized that okay, this money won't last forever, so I have to look for something. But later, it was very easy to get the job actually because I met people from the company during a Forum Biotechno, so it was easier to have a contact, so to give my resume and to have an answer, a quick answer.
And you didn't be afraid about no job after PhD, or you must apply for a postdoc after a PhD. It was not something that afraid you?
No, well, actually, I didn't want to do academic research, so I didn't want to do a postdoc. So maybe if I hadn't find anything, I would search for a postdoc. But to begin with, it was not what I was trying to get. So I was. Of course, it's easy to say when you have your job to say, I wasn't afraid. Of course, I was afraid while I was just after my PhD defense, because everyone that I was, everyone in the lab I was working in, these were people with only academic experience. So if you were asking them, okay, what can I do after my PhD if I don't want to do research? And they were like, we don't know. There's nothing you can do. And it's not true. It's so not true. Don't listen to these people. There are so many things you can do after a PhD, not in academic research. And it's as interesting, not to say much more interesting. But of course, yeah, during my PhD, I was very afraid because all of these negative people around me kept saying, oh, you'll be unemployed for years and years. It will be hard. I was like, okay, why did I choose to do this? But it's so not true. And if you go to an event like PhD Talent, you will see that there are many companies now that are aware of all the benefits that they have to hire PhDs. They know, well, maybe 10 years ago it was different, but today companies are very aware of the benefits that they can have from hiring PhDs, and they are looking for us. So we have to be more confident with this, I think.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have another question? Maybe in the chat. I don't know, I can check. And so you said that the most important thing was for you maybe to create a network, and at the end, thing like LinkedIn, what for you something very important to get a job, or what do you?
I think in my case it didn't help a lot, but I think you have to be on that network anyway, because while I was looking for a job, I didn't need to get on LinkedIn, but I mean I had my profile on LinkedIn, but I wasn't using it for real. But once I got hired, now I get contacted by many people, either people that want to recruit me, either people that want to know more about my job, what I'm doing. And that's a good advice if you're looking for a job. Use LinkedIn to contact people, to ask questions. Most of the time, people are quite happy to answer, and it can be a nice way to get some information about any type of job you want, and second, sometimes to get a job interview.
And what is the profile of the people that you are working with? I mean, PhD student like you, or not at all?
Yeah, at Leighton, so where I'm working, it's a mix, but there are many PhDs. I think it's 50% PhDs and 50% engineers, and I can clearly see, and I think it's objective, but maybe I'm not, but I can clearly see that PhDs are way more efficient at work, because we have these soft skills that enable us to understand things very quickly, to look for information, to naturally look for information when we need information, and not to wait that someone will help us. And this is very, very useful at work. So I'd say that even if you don't have any experience in a private company, when you're a PhD, try to be confident with your skills, because once you're there, you'll see that you have enough skills to do the job, and it's fine, and it's quite easy. I mean, it's how to say this. It's really like I don't know how hard or how easy is your PhD going, but compared to all the hard moments that you have to face during your PhD, working in a company is okay. You can have some hard moments, because especially in my field, in consulting firm, it can be stressful. You have a lot of pressure from clients for your management, but if you survive to PhD, to preparing the defense and writing your thesis, it's fine. You'll manage. You'll do fine, wherever you're going.
Okay, thanks. So maybe we'll ask one question, or we will move on the next intervenant. So thanks again, Harisoa.
But yeah, thank you for the invitation. I have to leave because I have another meeting. I'm still at work right now. So Thank you for the invitation. And if any of you have any question since I don't have the time to stay, you can find me on LinkedIn. So feel free to add me as a contact and ask if you want any additional information. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So now we will move to the next speaker. So I would like to introduce Samuele Lisi to you. He did his PhD in 2017 between Grenoble and Florence. And I think he will speak about his multiple role in sales and marketing department. So I'll give you the floor. If you want to share your screen, you can. And you have questions after the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Tell me if you can hear me. I'm not sure of
yes,
the parameters.
We hear you.
Sound. Cool. Okay, now I share my screen. I probably will share something, right or not? Let me know what you are seeing. I'm not sure. So
yes.
Can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just before moving into my presentation, I don't think the first speaker is there, but I loved her presentation. So yeah, it's something that I'm convinced of what she said, and yes, that's true. What she said, you are much more than we are all much more than our job. So I completely agree. And so first of all, thanks for the invitation. To Glob'Alps, to Clarisse, of course, for organizing all this, for getting in touch with me, explaining also all the process to go through to the presentation and to tonight. So today I'm going again to try to drive you through what I did and how I join what I do today after my thesis, which is the goal of today's session, let's say. But I want to start not with what I did in the PhD, but these days I'm walking around internet, and I came up with a famous speaking, which is done from. Tell me if slides move. Yeah, you should see the slide moving now. Which is called this TED talk, which is called Start with Why. And this is how basically a very inspiring TED talk that helped me communicating better. And it's how basically you can inspire the other and let them know why you want to do what you are doing right now. And I think it's very insightful. There is a book also which is called Start with Why. And so I try to present what I did in the PhD, but starting from the why I did a PhD in the first place. So why I did my PhD is that basically since the beginning of my career, day one in the university, I am a chemist by training, and I admired what PhD students do. I think they basically contribute to research, and they want to be there at one point. And later on, when my grandfather got Alzheimer, so I wanted to do something in that. And so this is what motivated me to join the research. And I wanted really, and I hoped to give a concrete contribution to the science there. Probably I was a bit naive, but this is another point. How did I get the money? Let's say to do a PhD, I discovered, of course, that you need to get funded. And so basically I went through a process. I proposed to a project to two teams, one, as Clarisse said, in Grenoble and the other in Florence, because I am Italian. And we submit a proposal, and with my great surprise, actually, we get the money, we get funded for the PhD. And that was really a big moment of accomplishment. And I think after 3 years in the lab, you start to forget why you start something. And maybe if you think about your PhD and what you are doing today, and you are struggling with your experiments, probably reminding why you started. If you have a big motivation, it can also be helpful. So I don't know, probably give you a look to the speaker, to the TED talk. It might be might be useful. I don't know, I like it very much. And finally, what I did is less sexy, I would say. My PhD is in analytical science. So we basically took a biomarker of Alzheimer's disease, and we developed two processes to detect this biomarker with an analytical techniques, and we compared the two techniques. And I had some, I would say, success, because I managed to publish 3 or 4 articles, which was fine. But for some reason, let's say that it didn't feel so great as I imagined before. I didn't feel like I was contributing to the science so much with what I was expecting before. Fast forward today, 4 years since my thesis defense, I joined Innova. And what is Innova? Innova, we are basically a software provider, and the goal of our products is to help biotechs and biopharmas to get along and to partner together, because as you probably know today, most of the molecules that are on the market come from external innovation. So they are not produced internally by the big pharmas, but they are usually come from biotechs or academics projects. The software is just, I would say, a platform that helps our clients getting track of their contacts and their collaboration. So it's to keep an eye on this, and all the discussion that we usually attend, all the discussion that I usually see are business oriented and not so much science oriented. And my role in here is it's called Biopharma analyst. I've been hired 6 months ago, because I know something about the biopharma space. And the idea of my role is this very transversal role. We are 110 employees today, and I collaborate with basically everyone, I would say. And then I feel very, very fortunate for this. Part of my job today is to train, to perform training and to gather information from more expert guys in Innova, and to train the newcomers, for example, around the different products and around the different market case that we might have. I collaborate also with marketing today by, for example, assisting them with the content they produce. So some web page, or when they need to promote some product, I try to help them out with that. And in some case, I also collaborate directly with the sales department to, let's say, help them with the strategy. So for example, knowing what kind of information to collect from the customer, how to get in touch, or which department to go up to look after first on the first place. I hope it's clear, but I don't know, I cannot see the chat, but if you have any question, I would like to stress that either you can write them in the chat, or we can, or take note for that, and I can try to reply about it later.
Yeah, it's clear, it's clear.
Great, thanks you for the feedback, it's good. So you can see basically that there is not a very big alignment between what I did in the PhD and what I do today. And basically, I want to underline the fact that, let's say, theoretically, my PhD is really not necessary to do the job that I do today. But for some reason, I think this is really one of my added value today in the company, and more in general to navigate around the different companies I went through. So I feel really the value of it. So after the PhD and how to get to Innova, I must admit that I was a bit lost. So again, I did not know, as probably the first speaker said, what do I wanted to do very, very well. I finished my PhD, I moved to France, and even if I spent 1.5 years here, I realized that I didn't know what kind of companies exist and what kind of job and position I could apply for. I did not know how to get an interview. I did not know basically if I needed a further training or not. So first place, I started to work with APEC. I don't know if you know them well, but they basically coach people to help them get their professional career to get a job for, let's say, for not specifically for PhDs. But for some reason, even if I think their coaching is good, this doesn't work so well for me. And it also created a little bit of frustration because everyone that I met was telling me, you are too trained, you don't need another training. And but still, I wasn't able to get any job, or worse, neither an interview. So what I did basically, I decided, I've heard of many kind of training, but I wasn't unsure of what I wanted to do. So in 2017, in September, I started a training which was specialized in life science industry, but not on a specific job role, because I was seduced by quality. I saw that many job offers were around quality, but then I didn't get along with quality, so I prefer to go over marketing, even if it's more competitive sometimes. So what I want to say is that I don't know if this training was the best possible option, because it was very generic. So sometimes I lack a little bit of marketing methodology in my job today, even. But it was cool because it helped me getting an internship and starting actually my career. And so since when I started my internship, I moved a lot from company to company with the help of the network as well. So with the help, for example, of biotech, the Réseau Biotechno. And I changed already 5 companies. And this is probably not the best path for everyone. I don't recommend to do so. But again, it gave me the opportunity to see many different processes, to see many different markets. And I want to say that after my training in 2017, I never stayed more than 2 months without a job. So I think from this perspective, the training was a good option for me. What I learned by going from company to company for different reasons actually is there are many parts, but I want to stress on 3 main experience on my side. Something that I underestimate is that any company is really unique, and it must fit with what you want to do, and it must fit also you. And you have to fit to the company, but the reverse is also true. So, for example, for me, I realized that the job environment is very important, and the multicultural environment is very important too. And Innova is great for that because we are many different nationalities. So it's cool. English, it's the official language. So for me, it's really perfect on that side. Also, another thing that I understood is that sometimes job titles are just titles, and you can have different roles behind the same job titles. And also the job title is kind of a static. So especially when a company grows very fast, you can end up doing different tasks on compared to what you have seen in the job title. So try to understand really when you do an interview, I would say what the company expects from the people, from the person that they want to hire, and ask relevant questions, try to get information about the future projects and how they see collaborate you with the other department of the company. And this is also depending on the size, but I want to say that you need to be agile and not sticking to the specific role. And also another thing is that I think that anyone has its own career path. There is no a good or a bad career path. You will build your own, I will build my own, and I'm still building it. So you have to share your experience, and it will be fine, I would say. To go a little bit more in detail about what I think I experienced in the sales and marketing position I went through, is that I try to separate sales and marketing, but sometimes they are merged in the same position. This is really dependent on how the company is organized. And this is really depending also how big is the size of the sales and marketing department. Sometimes I've been alone, so sales and marketing were the same person, so easy in that case. Let's say that what I felt is that the salesperson sometimes feel like is more driven by the adrenaline that you have when you sign a good deal, when you conclude a good deal. While in marketing, it's more about collaboration, understanding, creativity, and this kind of stuff, even if it's driven by numbers as well. So for example, in sales, I list out some key tasks like prospection, which means basically you have to spend hours over the phone to randomly pick up the phones, hope that your customer have a needs at the right time, at the right moment. And this is very unlikely. So you have to deal with failure. So a PhD can help here, of course, because you deal with failure a lot. I mean, just because we do research, so it's normal. And failure is part of the job, let's say. Yeah, and there are some other key factors like usually the customer has no time to deal with you, so usually you can find some resistance, they can push back, and it can be challenging sales. On marketing, what I found is more like also it depends on what you do, but in my experience, the interaction with the customer is more relaxed, is more based on the understanding, mutual understanding. There is not this tension of the price because you don't have to make the sale. But of course, it can also be difficult to get the customer speaking about something that can be sensitive for him, like it can be confidential, for example. And also, let's say that sometimes when you are specifically in marketing, you tend to lose the contact with the ground. So if you collaborate with another person in sales, they might not feel the value of what you are doing. And it's also important to communicate well with your sales person. Next slide is more about, sorry, it's not moving. And so again, I try to summarize here what skills that I learned from PhD that serves me today. And I think that search, organizing, and synthesizing the relevant information and the ability to look for information is really an added value. We call it, like when we do a PhD, scientific bibliography, but it's the same in market research. So it's very, very important. It's a very, very important skill that I learned during a PhD. Also doing presentation, I think it's something that we are used to do in many occasions, not to mention the thesis defense. And also the ability to learn fast. As you see, I moved from company to company, and I think that having the PhD helped me a lot to get know the different products, missions, and markets that I went through. And I like also that I have at least the innovation spirit. I try to innovate, at least I try to challenge, but sometimes this is not always so effective, especially if the job that you are doing is more dedicated to process. So it can be backfire sometimes, but for me, it's definitely valuable. What I think I lack when I started my career, and I'm still working to improve that, because I did the PhD in academics, I think I lack definitely the industrial knowledge and knowledge of the landscape. Active listening skills is not something that I worked a lot into the PhD. Also, when you are in sales, you need to focus more on benefits that your product have for the customers instead of focusing on some kind of features. So this is something that was not so immediate to me to understand. And because my PhD was my PhD, I didn't think about, I thought I was able to do teamwork, but actually I'm still learning how to do so very well. So this is something that I try to keep an eye on it and try to learn. And to conclude this presentation and to open the question, I would say that even if we are very, very trained as a PhD, learning is a always ongoing process for me. I jump on some very important books and academies that help me get into the job as I'm doing today, and trying to refer to it and to save at least 1 or 2 hours on my time every week to train on something. And I think it's really, really important. And because we are able to digest information and to learn, I think in the long term, it can really be an added value for a person such as me and such as you. So it was a bit more formal, but I want to say thank you to have you. I shared my professional contacts. I want to say thank you to PhD Alumni Network and Glob'Alps, of course, and please feel free to ask any question.
Thank you very much, Samuel, for your nice presentation on your feedback. So we have around 10 minutes to questions, so don't hesitate either in the chat or orally if you want.
Hello, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. In general, I have 3 questions. The first one, did you use any platforms to find a job that was presented by a previous speaker, like Forum Biotech or PhD Talent?
So I did not know PhD Talents, to be honest, but I was part of the organizing committee of Forum Biotech in 2018, and it's really a network that is worthy, because I was able to jump from a company to company and to meet interesting people on Forum Biotech. Definitely, this is really interesting.
Thank you. And the second question is absence of education in marketing and sales was a problem for you to find a job in marketing and sales domain?
The absence of
education
in that?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was definitely a barrier, and also people were keeping asking me why I didn't want to keep going in research. So of course, the training that I did in 2017 basically helped me getting us an internship there, which was more in marketing, and this helped. Then this was not the only reason why then I stayed in that. I think the network then was also important. So again, attending a forum, connecting with people on LinkedIn, trying to connect with people over the phone. It was also part of, and also what the books that I started to read was also useful, because basically it started shifting my mindset more to this business-oriented mindset. And for someone who is really looking for understanding more how really a salesperson work, the book called How to Become a Rainmaker is really one which is very, very insightful.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last question is, you mentioned that you change a lot of companies. In your opinion, is it a problem to apply for a new job? And it may be a problem since your employer may consider you like a not long-staying member of team.
Yeah, no, definitely it can be. That's why I don't recommend it to anyone, I would say. But it was like, it was not on purpose. Last company, it was because it was a non-permanent position, but my colleagues shared this feeling with me, that she said that she was not so sure to hire me at the beginning, because she's already have seen that I had many companies. So it can create a barrier. It wasn't the case for me. Sometimes, I mean, for some reason, I managed to get in touch with other company, but it was more thanks to the network. I did, for example, for the last company, I did not apply to the job. I just go over for former an internal employee, and I shared my resume, and it was then fine with the interview process. So yeah. Definitely the network is a catalyst to get knowing to the people and to get interviews, I would say.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Maybe I can ask you a question if there is no other one. You said that you applied to APEC to get some interview on jobs, I don't know. But how many interviews have you done, or how many times did you apply? Because you said you couldn't find a job with them. Is it because they didn't have a job that fitted you?
APEC is APEC is more like it's similar to Pôle Emploi, but for I don't know how to say that in English, cadre, anyway. So it was not, they help you defining what you want to do more than they help you get into the interview. They train about what you should say, you know, into the interview, how you should draft your CV and so on. So the interviews that I got when I was over the different training with the APEC was more like from consulting firm for a consulting position, but I wasn't able to ship to, let's say, to clearly communicate my value there. So it was a bit, I would say it didn't count in a way, because so not so many interviews.
Okay. And you did some formation in marketing, but how did you find them and where was it?
It's weird. At the Forum Biotechno, basically.
Okay.
Because the school basically was there as a sponsor, and so I stopped over their stand, and we started to talk about how to enter this training, and yeah, so that's how I met them. But it was not so specific on marketing, yeah, I don't even know if definitely this training is it's good because it helped me getting into the system, if you want to say so. So overcoming the barrier, you never have done any experience in marketing, for example, but probably it's not necessary to do a training. It can help, but it's not mandatory, I would say so.
Okay. Is there other questions or?
Probably have a question for the audience. May I? Or
yes, you can.
no. Anyone who's wanted to do like marketing or sales in the future, or is it something that that is not that you think is not for you? Probably you can try to reply in the chat, or
you can raise your hand. I think
you can raise your hand.
Reactions.
Perino, Julien, I'm seeing your hand. Do you want to elaborate on that? Or it was a mistake? I don't know.
It was a mistake.
Probably a mistake.
Okay. So if you have more questions, you can ask Samuel or write him email, I think.
Yeah, I have also, of course, a LinkedIn profile. Probably I can share it in the chat if you want to connect.
Yes.
And so feel free to reach out whenever you want.
So thanks again. And I think we will move to the other speaker. So Richard, I'll give you the
Yes. So yeah, the next speaker is Paul Elrish. So are you there, Paul? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Perfect. So Paul has defended his PhD in 2009. And so he has quite a long journey since his current position. So he's now a life and earth sciences teacher. And so he will present us how did he get there. And so now the floor is yours, Paul.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you. So do you guys see the presentation? Is it working?
Yes.
Let me switch to presentation mode. All right, here we go. Yep, I'll go to the beginning. So thank you, Richard, for inviting me. And thank you for Glob'Alps for reaching out. It's always a pleasure, even though for me, I have defended my PhD a long time ago, compared maybe to other speakers. And still, I think it's compared to the other people you might have heard today and maybe previously, I'll try to give you another point of view of what you actually can do with a PhD. And maybe it will give you some kind of insight that science and lab work, it's not always the end of the road, and that life is long. It's a long time, and you might actually find it interesting to do something completely different that you've been working for during your PhD and during all your graduate studies. So I will give you in a few slides just a brief overview of my professional background and how I got actually to be a life and earth science teacher. I've been a life and earth science teacher for 3 years now, and well, I've been a scientist in private companies for almost 10 years before that. And so let me try to walk you through all this. And hopefully you might actually find some interesting things in that. So basically, as a starter, I wanted to point out that I'm actually a full Grenoble University student. So I've done all my studies in UGA. Well, in my time it was called Université Joseph Fourier, and except for a year where I went abroad. At the University of California in San Diego on an exchange program. I've done all my master, my Bachelor of Science, my master degree, and my PhD at UGA. So as Richard mentioned, I have defended my thesis in 2009. And since then, I've been mostly working in the private sector. So for a little bit less than 5 years, I've been first a postdoctoral fellow in the Pasteur Institute in Paris, and before switching to a full-time position in Sanofi Pasteur, where I've been a vaccinology scientist. And after that, I was actually hired as the head of R&D in the microbiology department in a very small company, a CRO company. And that was, the year was 2017. And that was actually the moment where I completely switched career, and I will try to explain you why and how I did that. And well, as my slide shows you that, I switched to a teacher's position since then. So I will try to give you a brief overview of my line of thought and how I got there. So back in 2008, 2009, that was my third year as a PhD candidate, and I think I was kind of like you. I was in your shoes, and I had to make choices. All right, and to do that, I've been involved as Richard and other members of Glob'Alps in the many different associations and many different corporations that are available at the UGA. So in my time, that was not called Glob'Alps, it was called Globule 38, but the principle was exactly the same. So that was there was an association that brought together people and PhD candidates and professional persons, so we can network and exchange and chat one with each other. And I was also I also organized the 2009 Biotechno Forum with a few colleagues. And I was also involved in many other triad of training that UGA was actually providing at that time. So I'm not quite sure that this still exists today, but it was called Valoridoc, where basically you had to try to mock apply for positions in the future. And in parallel of that, I was actually doing quite a lot of teaching. So I wasn't a monitor, but I was teaching a lot. And I think during all the course of my doctoral program, I taught about 200 hours over different undergrad programs. So in 2009, I was finishing my PhD, and that was the big question mark. What do I do next, and where do I go from here? So the thing was that I was pretty sure during my third year that there was some stuff I just didn't want to do. I didn't want to do a postdoc in academia, a full-time position as a postdoc in academia, because I wasn't actually quite sure that all that came with the hard work, the exams, the low chances of getting a full position. I wasn't sure that wasn't actually for me. So throughout all these interactions that I had with Biotechno, Glob'Alps, and Valoridoc, and all the other people that I met during this year, I kind of come up with the idea that going into industry was the right thing for me to do. And this is where, well, I was kind of lucky because it was a mixture of luck and a huge help of the network I was able to develop during that time. And I had this wonderful position and wonderful application for a postdoc in industry. And so this the first position I applied for was a postdoc program between two institutes. So the Pasteur Institute in Paris, in Laboratoire Pathogénie Microbienne et Moléculaire, and the big company Sanofi Pasteur that I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of. And basically my job was actually to start working at the Pasteur Institute. That was about, well, I guess 20% of my time there, and slightly moved to 100% position back in the company. And I was actually working on a project of vaccine development for a disease that is called shigellosis. And I had to transfer all the knowledge that the Pasteur Institute had compiled so far and transfer this back to the industry. So we kind of tried to switch from really research from academia to something more developed in a real R&D organization back in a huge vaccine company. So at that time, this is probably where I actually learned quite a few skills. And besides everything that you guys learned during PhD and all the skills that actually the previous speaker mentioned in his speech, I think this is where I actually got the first idea of what was intellectual property, so IP in my slide. What did that mean to manage people, to manage technicians, to work with development, so try to upscale what you do on your small side of the bench towards something that is bigger and something that can be produced in large scales. This is also the first time when I learned stuff about clinical trials and how to get there, how do that work, and how do you get from a vaccine candidate to something that is really toward the ends of the road. And obviously, the big challenge for me was to try to adapt to this thing called GMPs, so good manufacturer practices. And this is probably where I had the most trouble to adapt because, well, I was actually used to work in my lab. I had my lab notebook, and I had, well, I thought I was pretty much thorough as a scientist. And then I learned the next level of thoroughness. And the GMPs were pretty much everything that you do on a bench, everything that someone is doing is, you know, written down somewhere, double checked by someone, and with a lot of procedures, a lot of stuff that you have to follow, a lot of rules and everything. So really this almost 5-year experience that was really interesting for me because I actually really learned how R&D works in a huge company in a private sector. So at the end of this experience, I had the opportunity to actually be hired as the head of R&D in a much smaller company. So that was a small company called Backed Up, which was actually bought by Eurofins, which is a pretty much larger company in France and in the world. And I was hired as a microbiological expert. And I had in charge all the internal external R&D. So this company was a CRO, which means that we actually offered our projects and offered our expertise to other companies working in the QC product, the production, and all the labs that were doing some preclinical work. And obviously, among all that, I had to implement new technologies. So that was the innovative part of my job. Essentially, that was dealing with microbial identification. So to give you just a hint, when you work in a huge company, when you produce, when you manufacture actually a pharmaceutical product, you work in specific environments where that somehow, sometimes there might be some microbiological contaminants. And our job was try to identify these contaminants and make sure that they they are not dangerous for the project itself. So I had to develop over the course of these 3 years, a lot of different techniques of mass spectrometry, flow cytometry, and things like that. Just to well, improve our techniques and our sales. And well, this is where I actually learned new stuff also in the industry. So other kind of norms, which are called ISO norms. I also learned a lot of marketing because we were such a small company, and I had well, I had a good position, so I had to do some sales. I had to do some marketing about our products, about my own expertise to other people. So that was actually quite interesting because I never thought during my PhD that I had somehow sometimes to sell something to someone, and well, that actually was the case. So 2017, that was also the time where I started to ask myself a lot of questions. So since the end of my PhD, that was almost 8 years, and I, to be completely honest, I started to lose interest in my day-to-day job. All right. And above that, I had new constraints, which were my family constraints. So at the time, my wife was also, she's an MD. She was working also a lot of time during the week. And we were having 2 very young kids. They are still young, but they were younger. And well, we had to make some choices for our family. So basically, one of us had to back up from his personal and professional career. And well, that was actually the time where I tried really to rethink what I really want for the next 20 years. In 2017, I was 37. So I really thought that 37 was a pretty good time to, really think about it and see if I can do something completely different. And well, the question that I asked myself was, what do I do? Do I just change position, try to find a new job in the industry, apply for a new position, try to renew my appetite for science and something else? Or do I do something completely different and take another path? And well, there's no spoiler here, you know the answer. So I actually choose to do another path. And I kind of tried to go back to my basics. So I realized that over the course of all these 8 years, what I enjoyed the most in my job was not the bench work, was not the management, was not exactly all these industrial environment or the company work. What I really liked the most was actually to try to transmit knowledge to people, try to train people, try to train my technicians or small internees that came to me. And well, I thought about it, and I said, okay, maybe it's time to go back to something you really enjoyed during your PhD, and that thing was actually teaching. And so at that time, well, I had to take some time to think about it because it was a huge career change. And well, so of course, I tried to talk to other teachers, to professional people, and I tried to leverage pros and cons in my family life, in the income, which was mostly part of loss of salary compared to what I earned in the private sector. And I also did something really interesting, which is called skills assessment. And that was really something I liked because I had to lay down on paper what I do know and what I don't. And especially in the frame of this new opportunity well, there was plenty of good things and plenty of things I wasn't sure about. So in the part of things that a PhD candidate can do when thinking about teaching is that obviously you guys and all the PhD candidates are really expert in life sciences. So you have a strong background, you went through a lot of training, and so life sciences is not an issue because you know a lot of things, you know how to learn a lot of new things, and obviously you have a very good scientific approach. So for a scientist, for a science teacher, having done for many years bench work and real experiments, starting from hypothesis through a lot of trial of failures and repetitions and winning, that's really something really important if you want to teach them to students. So obviously, I thought that my communication skills were good enough because, well, I'm pretty sure as you guys, we are trained to do a lot of communications, whether it's written or spoken, and this was a strong skill that I wanted to use in my next job. And also, I didn't want to kind of lose everything I learned about the technical lab skills. So even though over the years I went kind of away from the bench already, I still wanted to make sure that I know how to make how to run a PCR, how to do some DNA analysis, some stuff, and that was actually interesting. And compared to that, some other things I wasn't actually sure about myself was obviously when you teach life and earth sciences, there's this word earth sciences. So another term, it's called geology. Maybe you guys remember it from high school. And that was actually something I haven't touched and haven't learned from many years. So I wasn't actually quite sure that will be up to date quickly enough to to teach it. Another thing that I wasn't sure about was actually all this part of it's called didactic. So basically, when you teach in undergrads or graduate students, it's not exactly the same. You're in a room full of 200, 300 students, and well, you speak, you make your slides, and people take notes. You provide curriculum and stuff like that. But when you teach to high school and younger children, well, it means that you have to adapt, and you need to make sure that actually you can adjust all your expertise to people that are not that much of an expert. And so I wasn't really sure that I would be able to do so. And so I tried for 3 months. So at the end of 2017, I was actually a substitute teacher for 3 months in a high school and a middle school. And I realized after these 3 months that it was really that was my next step, and that was my next move. I really enjoyed it, and I was, that just convinced me that all these questions I raised, well, I will be able actually to get through. And so now, in 2018, I took a position as a substitute teacher, but as a full-time teacher. So basically, in the French system, there's a lot of openings as a teacher, and especially as a science teacher. Well, we like a lot of teachers, and so I didn't have that much of a trouble to find a full-time position. And so during that time, so that was mostly maybe in June 2018 that I learned that I will be having a full-time position. And so I had all the summer to prepare all my classes, all my work, things that I actually didn't know how to do that. So it was a long and hard summer just prior to the beginning of the year. But I went through, and during that time, I thought that maybe I need to make this position permanent. And so if you want to make this position permanent, you need to take a certification exam. So in France, it's called le CAPES, or CAFEP if you do go to a private school. And this certification exam is basically a lot of knowledge and didactics, about life and earth sciences. So, well, during 2018 and 2018, that was a pretty busy year, but I had it in the first on the first trial. So I'm pretty sure that all the skills that I have, took over the course of my PhD and my professional experience helped me out a lot because, well, I was I was kind of certain that I had a chance, and you know, I just worked enough, and it went through. And well, since then, so I'm a permanent teacher. So just to close up on this slide, and maybe you guys can ask questions later. What do I do? So I teach in high school mostly. So high school in France, it's from seconde to terminale. So it's basically from 15 to 18 years old students. And I also teach in English, so this is where my everything I learned in English was helpful also. So that was quite important for me not to lose the ability to speak in English and to talk in English. So I took an additional examination so I can teach in English sciences, and this is actually pretty cool. And obviously, as I actually had a PhD and I already thought in post high school studies, so I'm still keeping a few hours as a TA for undergrad, so licence especially. And for it's called the Master MEF, which is basically the formation where students go through to get this certification exam if they don't have a PhD. So that's the normal, I would say, the normal route, the normal way to get your certification as a teacher, no matter what the theme is, whether you teach Spanish or English or mathematics or physics or life sciences. So so it keeps me up to date because I still can you know, learn a lot of stuff. I'm still reading some biography, bibliography and things like this. So I try to keep up with the science as much as I can. And yeah, at that point of my career, I'm really happy that I took this this kind of decision. And just to wrap this up, I gave you on this last slide just 2 links that maybe some of you might find interesting, of really how to make this transition really at what cost. How can you actually use your PhD to get the certification exam, and a second link where you find some other you know, other people that give you an overview of why they actually left a private company to become a teacher. And yeah, this is it for me. So thank you for your attention, and well, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Paul, for this really nice talk. Very different from what we see usually.
Sure, yes.
So yeah, feel free to ask any question to Paul in the chat or directly to activate your microphone.
Okay, that's a good presentation, Paul. I really want to comment that. It's like what Richard has said is quite different from what we have had earlier. I want to know what how does the interview for postdoc look like? You know, questions they ask and all of that. So how does it look like?
So basically, so this first position as a postdoc I got where I finished my PhD, as I mentioned, that was mostly luck because, well, the position was open at the time I was finishing my PhD. So that's something that you can't predict, but it's really important. And the other way was that during all the interviews, so I think I had at least 5 interviews, 5 different interviews for this postdoc, which is kind of a lot when you finish up your PhD. And so I had interviews with human resources from the Pasteur Institute. I had interviews with principal investigator in the lab in Pasteur Institute with Professor Sansonetti. I had another interview with the chief in Sanofi Pasteur that had this team working on this project, and 2 other people from Sanofi Pasteur. And so to be completely honest with you, I think the thing that helped me the most during these interviews was everything I have done with Glob'Alps, biotechno, and everything. So everything I was actually able to speak to people during all these events, the one that you're attending right now. This is what helped me out through these interviews, because it felt that I had more insight maybe than other candidates. You know, I knew where I was going. As I spoke to other members of private companies, I knew mostly what was a private company. I knew what kind of language I had to use, what kind of professional skills I had to put through, and things like this. So yeah, for me, that was really the most important thing.
Thank you. So there is several questions in the chat. So do you want to read them, or I can read them?
Sure. Let me just go through to the chat. Okay. So are your students aware of your past life in the private sector? Yes, they are. And actually, this is a really plus, I believe, because well, I'm not arguing. Well, you know, I'm not walking through my students saying, "Oh, I have a PhD, that's cool," and everything. No, but somehow in the discussion, well, they're kind of, you know, they're curious, so they ask what you've done, how you became a teacher. And when I say that I was a PhD, I have done science in labs and things. This is really important because most of them need to make choices when they go to their undergrad studies. Okay, and this is where I think I have maybe more insight than another teacher, because, well, I went through all this, and I know exactly what it is to be a scientist. I know the advantages, I know the drawbacks. Well, I kept up to date. I have still contacts that I can ask to come to the school and talk to my students, you know, this kind of thing. So this is, I think this is really a plus and a bonus. Do you use it as a tool to contextualize what they are learning now and how they will be able to use in the future? Yes, absolutely, exactly. So, you know, for example, I'll give you just a really important example. I was a vaccinology scientist, and obviously in the sanitary context today, well, we learn to our students in life sciences what it is a vaccine, how does it work, how do we make vaccines and everything. So besides showing my own opinion, which is not what I do my day-to-day work, I can actually make them understand what it is to make a vaccine, how is it important, what you learn in social media about what is true, what is not, what is fake med, where do you get your information. So yeah, I'm trying as much as I can to use this, you know, to well, to make them, well, to show them maybe a brighter future. So another question, why didn't teach at the university? So that's a very good question. I didn't go through the maître de conférence because at the end of my thesis, I had multiple maîtres de conférence in my lab. And actually, I'll be completely transparent. So maybe that's not what you want to hear, but I'll say it anyway. Well, they were all exhausted. They were all exhausted because that was really 2 jobs in one. So they were teaching a lot of hours at the university, and they were doing research. And for most of them, it was really hard to keep up. You know, at the end, well, when I projected myself in the future, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do these 2 things. I would rather just do one job and try to do this as much as, well, as best as I could. Do you have any nostalgia about working in the private sector? So nostalgia, that's not the word I would be using. I'm always thinking about, you know, when I'm reading some new papers on immunology or microbiology, because I'm trying to keep up to date, I still think that, yeah, maybe, yeah, that's some kind of experiments I would do when I go to PubPeer or something like this. Yeah, that's, I would criticize it. I would have done this differently and everything. So I try to keep anyway my science background, you know, in my mind, but it's not really nostalgia. I really moved on, and well, I was saying I'm really happy with what I do today. I have many more free time, and well, you know, my students are really wonderful, so I'm really happy with it.
Thank you. So we have 2 more questions that we missed from Rosa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, let me go back.
It will be the last one, maybe.
Yes, Rosa, absolutely, yes. So how did you find the postdoc position with Sanofi? So maybe we're running out of time. I don't want to go through the next speaker. So the postdoc, I was trying to find as much as I could on the LEM. So it's Les Entreprises du Médicament. It was a website that were posting all these applications for postdocs. That was the first thing. And the other was networking. So in my lab, I had the chance chance to have this CNRS scientist, and she had a friend working in Sanofi. And when I saw the application on the LEM website, I told her, and she said, "Oh, okay, I know the lead scientist in Sanofi, so maybe I can try to reach out and say that you might be interesting." So this was really a way where I'm pretty sure that my resume went on the top of the pile. So yeah. And how was to work in R&D department? That was amazing. That was really nice because, you know, in a private company, especially like Sanofi, well, you can play with a lot of new toys. So every time I needed something new, I just could buy it. And, you know, that's something that you're not used to in a academia lab, where you need sometimes to wait for machines and stuff like that. So yeah, that was really enjoyable. The drawback of that is that they're expecting you to do a lot of high throughput work. So if they give you machines and robots that they can do, I don't know, I had this robot doing 200 ELISA plates at the same time. Well, they're expecting that at the end of the week, I make a huge presentation of the results. So, you know, there's two sides of the story.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul, for coming and sharing your experience. So if some of you have a question for Paul, we can maybe write email to Paul or LinkedIn, I don't know.
That was my I gave you my professional email on the slides. If you guys want the slides, so Glob'Alps can share them. There is no problem with that, and I'll be happy to help you if you have any questions transitioning and maybe becoming a teacher.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll switch to the last speaker for today. So Baptiste.
So yeah, so as Richard said, we will change of speakers, and for the last presentation, I will really happy to introduce you Lise Malassenet. Lise did a thesis in 2012 between FCBA in Bordeaux and the LEMA laboratory in Nancy. Next, in 2016, she looked at a job and became volunteers business manager of talents innovation source development. And 1 year later, she will be responsible of materials innovation at the Bordeaux University. And now she's a business development officer at the SATT LINKSIUM. But now she will present you with more details and more precisely her experience and feedbacks. And do not hesitate at the end of the presentation to ask questions by the chat or directly by opening your microphone. So, Lise, you have the presentation, or you want?
Yes, I have it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Baptiste. Okay, is it okay for you?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you, Baptiste, for giving me the opportunity to present myself today. I'm the last speaker, so I will be quick because I know that it's almost time for apéro. So to present my background, as Baptiste said, I did École d'ingénieur in Bordeaux. It was on chemistry and physics. Then I decided to make a PhD, to have the possibility to run a project from the beginning to the end. I wanted also to work with a company. That's why I chose to do a CIFRE. So it was between Université de Lorraine and FCBA in Bordeaux. I study treatment for the protection of wood outdoors. So I work on chemistry, wood sciences, characterization, and formulation. Then after my PhD, I wanted to find a job in a company, in a private company in R&D, in chemistry in Bordeaux. But it was not easy actually. So I spent 1 year looking for a job, and I I use this time to volunteer in different associations, especially in Talents Innovation. And in this experience, I developed my professional network, and actually I found that I liked it. So after this volunteer, I decided to look for a job in network and innovation. And I found this job in the University of Bordeaux as an innovation business developer. So I was in charge of helping a researcher to find fundings, to build a project, to build a project to answer to calls for European fundings, for example. And during this experience, I found that I really liked this job. And I think that the time I had to look for a job helps me to understand what I really wanted. And I think that's important to say that after your PhD, you have a lot of possibilities, and you really need to be open-minded. And I think thanks to this event, you can see that you have a lot of possibility after your PhD, because with the 4 speakers, you can see that you have a different orientation. So after this experience in Bordeaux, I found that it was really what I wanted to do, to work in innovation. And I had the chance to have a job as a technology transfer project manager in SATT LINKSIUM. So I will use this time now to present to you SATT LINKSIUM, because as a PhD student in Grenoble, I think it's important for you to know that you have the possibility to do something after your PhD with SATT LINKSIUM. So my job in LINKSIUM is to look for potential projects. So I'm in the different labs. In Bordeaux, I was working only on material fields, but now I'm in every field. So I look for potential projects, and I help researchers to answer to our call. And I'm also the contact point for PhD students and postdocs. So what is SATT LINKSIUM? So SATT it's a SATT for Société d'Accélération de Transfert de Technologie. So it's a technology transfer office. In France, you have 14 SATT, and the one in Grenoble is called LINKSIUM. So as all of the SATT, we help to make transfer from laboratory to the market. But we have a specialty in Grenoble, is that we help people who want to create startups. So this slide is to present to you a mix between what we do in LINKSIUM and what is possible as a PhD student. So in LINKSIUM, we do technology transfer. So we help the project to be transferred from the laboratory to the market with 2 possibilities, either to create a startup or to do a transfer to an industrial. And as a PhD student, you have to know that you are really the right person to do technology transfer. So we really help you to make technology transfer and to create your startup if that's what you want. Indeed, we noticed this last year that a lot of PhD students want to find a job with a meaning. And most of the time they say that the best way to find a job with a meaning is to create its own job. And to do that, the possibility is to create a startup. And as a PhD student, you really have the skills to create a startup. So if that's something that interests you, you can answer to our call, which is called Challenge Out of Labs. If you need more information, you can also talk with Baptiste and Richard, because they win this challenge few months ago. So that's a call when you can present your project, and after we will answer to you if it's possible for you to do transfer or not. If it's possible for you to make transfer, we will help you to build your application for our investment committee, who will decide if yes or not, they will fund your project. If they will fund your project, the first step is maturation. And in this step, we will pay you to work on the project, to develop the technology, but also to work on the market and the intellectual property. And after, you have the next step, which is incubation or commercialization. And after, you will be able to create or not your startup. So that's what I wanted to present to you, because I think that's important for you to know that you not only have the possibility to become a researcher and to make postdocs, but you can also create your own job and after hire other PhD students, thanks to the SATT LINKSIUM. So do not hesitate to contact me if you have a project. Just to let you know that we are not the only structure to help PhD students to make entrepreneurship. You have also Pepitose. So do not hesitate to contact all of this structure, because as PhD student, you have a lot of possibilities. And I really want to say that this last year, a lot of fundings want to help PhD students. So do not hesitate to stay open-minded. Okay, I have finished with my presentation, so it was very quick. And now, if you have any question in English or in French, do not hesitate.
So thank you for this talk. And as Lise said, if you want to ask some question, you can use the chat or directly your microphone. So if we don't have question, I have some questions. During your thesis, do you participate to extra or no scientific activities as forum organization or other activity? And if yes, what skills that developing for you which help you today in your jobs?
No, I didn't do extra activities because actually my university was in Nancy and most of the time I was in Bordeaux. So I didn't really had the chance to be with other PhD students and to share this kind of stuff. But I think that's a shame because as the previous speaker said, you learn a lot of things with these extra activities. But I think you learn, even if you don't do extra activities, you learn a lot of soft skills with your PhD. And I think that's the most important. Okay, hard skills is also important, but soft skill will help you to find a job after. And during my CIF PhD, I had a lot of meetings with industrials, and I learned a lot about how to speak with industrials, how to run a collaborative project, how to deal with administrative papers, etc. And I think that was also interesting. I can see that there is a question. What are the benefits of a CIF PhD in comparison with a common PhD? I think that the most important benefits was the link with industrial company. I learned a lot with that because before my PhD, I think I was a bit naive, and I thought that it was easy to collaborate between universities and industries. And during my PhD, I learned that it was not easy, actually, because we don't have the same vocabulary, we don't have the same objectives, etc. So I think I learned a lot working with industries, and it was a benefit. It was also a benefit when I applied after for a job, because you can say that you don't have only academic knowledge, but you have also an experiment in industry. Even if, as the first speaker said, now people are not afraid anymore to hire PhD students with only academic background. But it's true that I think it helps for my different interviews.
Okay, interesting. For you, for your personal experience, it's difficult to move on management or business developments when you come off academic or thesis, because as you said, it's not really the same visions of science. So I mean, during your thesis, you don't have the same vocabulary as you say. For you, what is the tips for classicals, PhD students, to develop the non-academical vocabularies during our thesis? Participate to meeting, industrial meeting, or other things?
Yes, it's true that it was different between my PhD and after the job I found in Bordeaux. Actually, I learned during my job. So I don't know if I have tips. I think as a PhD student, you know how to be ready to do something different every day, and you know how to find the answer when you have a question. So I think you have all of the skills to translate from a job to another. So, but I don't have really tips for that.
Okay. So Samuel, you want to ask question?
Yeah. Hi, Lise.
Hi.
Thank you for the nice presentation. And it was just like to maybe a question about what do you think? What do you have to think about when you or to look at when you want to do technology transfer? Because I think there is something to do with publication. So if the results of your thesis is completely published, can you still apply for the challenge? Can you still like or do you have to have a certain level of intellectual property protection and patent protection?
Good question, thank you. As you said, you need to have intellectual property to make transfer, because to make technology transfer, you need to have something to transfer, and the things to transfer is intellectual property. So yes, it's easier if you already have intellectual property, so it can be patents or know-how, software protection. But if you want to apply to the challenge and you don't have IP, it's also okay, because you can, if you can show that you can create IP during the first step of the technology transfer, so during maturation, it's okay. But it's true that it's important to say that you need intellectual property to make a transfer. And if during your PhD you published a lot and you divulgate everything, it will be more difficult to make transfer technology.
So Just quick question again on that is, do you have any pushback from like the supervisor, because their goal might be to publish only because they have permanent position, and so they don't theoretically want to create any startups, but probably so students are pushed and pushed and pushed to publish, let's say, only, even if it's important. But is there any kind of conflicts or any suggestion to overcome this kind of situation if the people in the audience want really to get into the startups?
Thank you. Good question also. It's true that more and more researcher wants to make a technology transfer. So that's not always a problem, but sometimes indeed we know that it's important for them and for you to publish. And that's not a problem, because when you publish, you can decide what you want to say or not. And so if you want to protect your innovation, or if you want to make a technology transfer, you can contact your cellule de valorisation. So it can be CNRS, Floralis, etc. And they will help you, they will guide you to know what you can publish or not, in order to be able after to protect your innovation.
Thank you.
Paul, you have also questions?
Yes, thank you, Lise, for this presentation. I just wanted to adopt that I concur completely with what you presented, because during my postdoc I was actually having the same trouble of language between academia, all right, the Pasteur Institute, and a big company, Sanofi Pasteur, and they were just not speaking the same way, you know. And this is really important, I think, for people in the audience to know that when you do, for example, a postdoc in a private company, they will ask you to make, you know, to work on the IP first and your publication next. And, you know, they want to make sure that if they have a golden goose, they'll stick with it, you know, and IP come first, and you know, all the things you've talked about. This is really important for them. So that's the main point, and maybe one of the main difference between, in my opinion, between an academia postdoc and a company postdoc, where you might not be able to publish as much as you want, and at least not what you want.
Okay, so I don't know if you have question of other persons. To finish, I have two more questions. Just for you, what is the proportion of PhD students that will want to do startups after the PhD? And what is for you the three most useful skills to create a startups when we are PhD students?
For the first question, actually there was a study, and I don't remember the figure, but it was I think like 60% maybe of the students who think about creating a startup, maybe not already, but think about it. But most of them say that they don't know what it was possible, or they don't know that there was structure to help them to create it. So I think that it's more and more something important for a PhD student to have the possibility to create their own company, to create their own job, and to change the world, creating a new company. So I think that's something increasing, but as a structure, we really need to give this information to them that it's possible, and a lot of money is possible and available for them. About the three important skills to create a startup, I think motivation is the first skill, because if you want to become a startup startupper, you really need to be motivated, because even if I say that you have a lot of money that is available somewhere, you need to work to find it, and you know that you will spend some years of your life only dedicated to your startup. The second skills would be, I'm thinking about the PhD students we have that are creating their startup. But maybe Baptiste, you can say what could be the 3 skills, because you want to be a future startupper, so maybe you have an idea now.
I hope. Oh, but
I think motivation. You agree that it's important, especially because when you finish your PhD like you, and you want in parallel starting to do something with SATT LINKSIUM, for example, it takes a lot of time. So I think motivation is really important. Also, you need to be open-minded, because you will have to meet really different people, because at the beginning you have the help of structure, so they are, I would say, nice, but after you will deal with investors, and they are maybe not as nice as we can be, etc. So you really need to be open-minded. And the third skill, I'm sorry, I don't know if I will find it.
It's a difficult question.
Yes.
Okay, it's just to like that person that know it will be possible. Startups and
yes, I would say that if it's an idea that you have, do not hesitate to contact the different structure, or even contact PhD students that now are launching their startup, because in Grenoble you have the chance to have a lot of them. A lot of young startups are in the beginning of their life, so do not hesitate to contact all of these people, and just to let you know that it's possible. So keep open-minded.
So yeah, create a startup. It's a part of possibility after the PhD, as postdoc, as industrial position, or other things. So thank you. I don't know if somebody wants to ask other questions. Maybe if not, we can stay here on the Zoom if we want to discuss with us or within other intervenants or speakers if we have times. And if not, thank you for your presentation and to come in this event.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm sorry I have to leave, but if you want to ask me more questions, do not hesitate to write or to contact me via LinkedIn.
Thank you, Liz. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, if I can just add something, the presentation were recorded, so you can find them in the YouTube channel. So in a few days, I think. So if
you are YouTubers,
yeah, I would send you the link to the YouTube channel. If some of you want to share the presentation to friends or family, anyone, feel free.
Maybe it will be uploaded tomorrow. Or...
Yeah, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe.
We'll have to see. Maybe. But we send the link per email also, I think.
Okay. Nice. So yeah, we will thank Samuel and Paul who are still there. And if some of you have questions, do not hesitate. You can turn on your microphone, video. Don't be scared.
The official events, it's finished. So now it's just a time to discuss.
I don't bite, and even if I want, there is a screen in front of me. So
I got one actually question about for you, Samuel, that you said that you don't develop the active listening. So what do you want to mean by actively listening?
Active listening is something still learning, I would say. I would define it like as the capability of acknowledge the fact that someone is actually talking to you, I would say, and interacting with the person, for example, like mirroring him or her, which means like repeating like some kind of keywords that he or she uses, trying to